Hello, my name is Alan Higby, and today we'll be discussing positive community action for transgender individuals. A little bit about me. I am a graduate student at Angelo State University studying mental health and wellness counseling. There are a couple of reasons why I'm interested in this topic. First, I am a member of the LGBTQ plus community, and second, my best friend came out to me as transgender 6 years ago, and watching her transition and seeing the trials and tribulations, but also the joys, has impassioned me on this subject. Unfortunately, transgender people experience great risks, including violence, discrimination, and barriers. But let's define what transgender means. Transgender is an umbrella term that describes anyone whose gender identity does not match their assigned gender at birth. The trans experience is on a spectrum. Male to female trans exist, female to male trans exist. There's also non-binary, which are people who do not define themselves in those two binary genders. Approximately 0.6% of the population is transgender in the US. And in Texas, there are approximately 124,500 Texans who are trans, and a majority of them are actually people of color. Unfortunately, the numbers that we have are probably inaccurate because there is still stigma around trans people, and some people may be reluctant to come out due to social stigmas and fear of violence and harassment. This social stigma actually increases the risk of violence and also creates those barriers. The violence experienced by trans people are extreme. Up to 86% of trans people experience physical violence and 66% experience sexual assault. Transgender people are also more likely to experience multiple experiences of victimizations throughout their lifetime. This is known as polyvictimization. Harassment also extends to healthcare due to fears of being misgendered or otherwise discriminated against. Trans people are sometimes hesitant to seek out healthcare. Also, trans people disproportionately experience mental health issues. This includes depression and anxiety, and their reluctance to receive mental health from providers can have devastating results. More barriers include housing and employment. Unfortunately, about 15% of trans people make less than $10,000 a year. Another unfortunate statistic is that 2021 has been the deadliest year for transgender people of color. 46 people have died so far this year, and it is a record in America. There are many ways that we can make a difference. Starting with education. Schools are the first point of contact for most trans people, and creating anti-bullying policies that can protect trans children, and also training supportive educators and staff to enforce these anti-bullying policies and create a safe space for these children is the first step. Reducing social stigma is the first goal of what we are trying to accomplish here. In regards to healthcare providers can create a welcoming environment by displaying LGBTQ affirming posters in educational materials. This is an example here from the American Medical Association. Patient intake forms should be re-examined to make trans people feel more comfortable. And obviously, staff and healthcare providers should have additional training to understand these issues. Business owners can create and enforce anti-discrimination policies. This can be for their employees, but also for their patrons. Employers can also advertise job openings using LGBTQ plus inclusive language and signaling. This is an example of a sticker on a window from the Wisconsin LGBT Chamber of Commerce. This type of signaling is a good example of how we can better create these safe access points for transgender individuals. Here's one more statistic I wanted to show before we end here. 41% of transgender adults have attempted suicide. This is not something that we can accept. As a community, we should wrap our arms around every individual and every population, especially those that experience this level of discrimination, victimization, violence, sexual abuse, those who have experienced homelessness and poverty, and those whose support systems, including their families, have probably abandoned them. One of the most powerful ways that we can change the social stigma in our community is by speaking up and taking action. Those with a voice in the community should take up for those who don't have a voice. Here are some examples of some things that you can do to speak up. First, you can participate in marches and rallies. Look at your local events calendar, look up the pride centers and see what they're doing. Get involved. You can also contact your local elected officials. This includes your mayor, your governor, or even your federal representatives. Look for other things you can do, like signing petitions. And of course, one of the most important things you can do is vote. Look at the record of these people who are asking for your support and trying to make changes in the community, and vote for them, and then hold them accountable. I appreciate you taking the time today to listen to this presentation. To conclude, community leaders have a responsibility to ameliorate the fear that transgender people experience by creating accepting, safe spaces that transgender people can have so that they can have easy access to those basic needs and physical safety. The message transgender people receive is, if not obviously stated, it is never safe to assume that you are in a safe space. Let's help with that. Finally, I'd like to share with you my references, and I'll also be giving a list of resources for you to access. Thank you very much, and I hope you guys have a great day.